Welcome everyone to another episode of the Ableton Music Producer Podcast. This is Dan Giffen. Today we have an awesome guest. She goes by the producer name Bad Snacks, and I am a fan. She makes some really cool lo-fi hip-hop music, and in this episode she and I talk about favorite production tools, sound design, her live performance workflow, and overcoming mental struggles of making music. So it's a good one, but before we get into today's episode is sponsored by Auralex. If you're not familiar with the company, they create acoustic solutions for your studio. I've been using their studio foam for years and have it set up in my place right now. A lot of at-home producers don't realize that your gear is going to perform better in an acoustically treated room, or maybe you just don't know how to treat the room or what materials to use. Oftentimes, it's not your gear that's the issue, it's the room. And Auralex creates professionally tested products that isn't like your average makeshift knockoff mattress foam that you just set up against the wall. It's high quality and it helps you get the most out of your mixes. They provide a lot of free knowledge and resources on their site you can check out and learn how to properly treat your room. The company was nice enough to provide a discount code, so if you go to Auralex.com, you can get 15% off your entire order, which is awesome. Just use the discount code Ableton in all capital letters on Auralex.com. That's AURALEX.com. Link in the show notes. They are definitely the top brand in acoustics and have been in the business for over 40 years. So once again, use the discount code Ableton, all capital letters, save some money, and go to Auralex.com. And without further ado, today's episode with Bad Snacks. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Ableton Music Producer Podcast. And today we have a special episode with Bad Snacks. She is an LA-based electronic experimental hip-hop producer. You're in LA, right?
Yeah, I'm based out of LA. Right now I'm actually in Portland, Oregon, but
it's not too far away.
Yeah.
Right on.
It's still the West Coast.
Yeah, it's west of me. But yeah, you're a YouTuber, performer. You play a synthesized violin, which is super dope. You play a lot of other instruments. You just came out with an album not too long ago, which we were just talking about. I was listening to it on my run today. It was super vibey. It's like kind of this like lo-fi chill hop with like some extra jazz in it. But yeah, apparently you're also a great cook and you love naps. That's what your bio says. So
yeah, it's true. I can personally attest for all of those things about myself.
Yeah, those are all great qualities of a good producer.
Thank you.
You have to take naps. Yeah. You can't just stay up making music.
I'm a pro. That's one of my superpowers, actually, is I can take a nap anywhere, anytime, at any point of the day.
Honestly, that is a rare gift because I'm a light sleeper. So like more power to you. You can't just be making music all the time. You got to rest your brain, take some naps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get the name Bad Snacks? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot. It started as an inside joke between me and my friend Scott Welch, who's an amazing producer in his own right. And we were in the studio, we were just working on some tracks, and this was when I was just figuring out how to make beats, and he was really helping me out with it. And one day we had been working on this track, and he was kind of just like, oh man, like I'm pretty hungry. Like I could go for something. And be like, do you have any snacks around? I was like, well, I got like a bag of hot carrots in my car. And so we named the track that we were working on, we called it Bag of Hot Carrots because we were like, that's kind of funny. Yeah. And then it just kind of stuck where we'd be like, okay, what's today's bad snack going to be called? And I turned it into a series initially with like a different artist name, but then people just kept going to me. They were like, oh, I love the whole Bad Snacks thing. And I was like, you know what? I got to roll with it.
Yeah, just embrace it. Why not?
Yeah.
That plays out in a lot of your track names too. Like on the newest album, Neat Tape 2, that came out in April, one of the tracks' name is Oh Okay, and you have like Oh Shoot.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Just I mean, before I started putting out beat tapes, I would like make little tracks and literally name them after Bad Snacks. I was very literal about it. And now at this point, they're just like super candid names.
Yeah.
So this past beat tape was supposed to be a lot about kind of more of a, not a literal reflection of some stuff that I've been experiencing over the last couple years, but it just kind of felt right to like name these tracks after like just very candid phrases that I say very often in real life.
No, I love that. No, I'm the same way with my band Philia. Like I named a song after my dog Wiggles.
Dog named Wiggles?
I did, yeah. She's in a better place now, but you told us a little bit about you, but how did you get started producing music? Like, what does that look like growing up?
Yeah, so I've been a musician my whole life. I started playing violin when I was like 3.5. So music was always a huge part of my life. And when I was a teenager, my parents were really supportive in me experimenting with things that weren't classical violin. So I got into like an indie rock band, and then I started like my own like folk singer songwriter project. So I was always like working on these projects and kind of exercising my creative muscle, I guess you could say. But I always had like an aptitude towards listening to electronic music. And like when I was like a young kid, I was listening to a lot of electronica. And then like when I was like 11 or 12, my eldest brother gave me a mixtape that had like, you know, Jay Dilla and Slum Village on it, and bunch of old school hip hop kind of stuff. And that was like my introduction then. But I kept kind of falling down further and further into this rabbit hole of electronic music, and I realized that a lot of my heroes lived in LA. So I knew that I wanted to be a professional musician, kind of in any iteration. But it wasn't until I got to LA and really started messing around in Logic myself that I was like, you know what? Even though I don't have the skill set to like make beats, I should just learn. I should just figure this out. So that's how it started. As I finally started kind of making the music with the goal in mind of like, I want to make stuff that I would listen to. So that started in like 2016. That's when I moved to LA and started like working on Logic.
Okay, nice. So why the move to Portland? Because you're there now.
Yeah, so I'd been wanting to check out Portland for a while, and I love LA, but there are a lot of things about it that like it doesn't like vibe with me super like culturally, like in a lot of ways. Just the cost of living is one of them, but the whole idea of like, you know, it's just an industry town. It's like a super super intense industry town in a lot of ways, and I was getting really burnt out on just how like everything has to have some other kind of motive. Like you can't just hang out with people. Like you have to hang out with people like with the intention of like gaining something business wise. Like it's just, that might be a really unromantic way of putting it, but that was kind of what I was contending with. And that, and like layout of the city. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's stuff about LA that like I miss terribly. Like I love the beat scene there, and I'm probably gonna end up going back there after the summer. It's a little hard to tell right now because, you know, with COVID and everything, everything is shut down. So the entire music industry is just super shut down.
It's but like time.
I like hiking, and it is a weird time for that. But like I really like outdoorsy things, and I just wanted to like zone out and chill out for a little bit. And I had made these plans to come up to Portland before everything shut down. And then it just ended up being really good timing.
Yeah, no, for real. So, it sounds like it.
Yeah. So I'm just up here and not really seeing much of the city, but the weather's been nice and I have a garden. So
there you go. What are you growing in your garden?
Oh man, loaded question. I have a bunch of veggies and flowers, basically, and some fruits. I have like 3 berry bushes and nice. And some strawberries, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of tomato plants.
Those are all good choices. Yeah, tomato plants are great. Yeah, I've been into like bonsai trees lately. Like
those are so hard to maintain.
Yeah, they are. You just got to give them a lot of love, and then they just love you back, and it's great. So, it's good. I feel like having plants in the studio is like essential for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
For me especially. My artist logo is a tree, so I'm just like really fond of plants for whatever reason. But
yeah, it does. It can make or break a room. For sure.
This is true. And it gives oxygen. So like if you're into breathing clean air, that's a good thing.
For sure. You know that spider plants are tested, NASA tested them, and apparently they're like one of the best air filtration plants that you can have.
Spider plants?
Spider plants,
Does it look like a spider? Is it like...
I mean, I think they call it a spider plant because it has like really long, thin leaves. But they also create like, they have like... I don't know what the technical term is, but basically they like reproduce constantly too. So you can take like little nodules, you can cut it at the nodule and then start your own baby. You can propagate them really, really easily.
That's cool.
So at my place in LA, before I moved up here, I had to leave almost like so many of my house plants back in LA. And I had, I think, 50 plants.
That's a lot of gardening.
Yeah. I think they're probably all dead, if I'm being honest right now, because my friend who's subletting from me right now, he's trying his best, but yeah.
We should just talk about plants for the next 40 minutes.
That, you know what? I'm cool with that.
I think it's a good idea. Maybe we'll come back to that in a little bit. But,
okay.
but you're in a room right now, and I know a lot of people can't see you, but there's a ton of beautiful instruments. I see a drum set. I see a bunch of pedals. It's a beautiful little synth you have to your left. I know you play a lot of different instruments. Like, what would you say are like your best instruments that you feel really comfortable playing?
Oh, string instruments by a long shot, because I've been playing violin for 22 years now.
Right.
And I also play viola and sometimes cello too when I'm doing like remote session work. And then I don't really play guitar so much these days, but I used to play it a lot as a teenager and a younger adult. I say that as if I'm like aging myself, but I really like playing bass, and I love playing synth bass too. Yes. I think those are probably like my stronger qualities. I can get around on,
right? That sub patty, that's in a lot of your videos, and that thing sounds great. I love it.
I know. I had to leave that one down in LA too. Just for like, because I moved up with all my stuff in like packed into my Subaru Forester. So,
nice.
But
good car.
But I have access to a sub 37 up here, which is
me too. This is my baby. Yeah, it's my baby right here. She's great. A little sub 37.
Nice.
Her name's Maggie. I don't know if you name your instruments, but I always name mine.
Oh, that's so sweet. I name my like string instruments, but I haven't named my synths.
Okay. What's your
Maggie's a great name for a sub 37 though.
It is, yeah, she's a good girl. But what did you name your violin or your strings?
I got Stringy the Third, which is like, that's the violin that I've had since I was 12, so I just kept the name. And then I have Abraham and Kevin.
Those are good names. It's good good strong names. Yeah. You've released a lot of tracks on this new album. How many tracks did you have on this new album? There's like, it looks like 17. Yeah.
17.
How long did it take you to produce that? And was there like a concept behind the album? Like, how did that all start?
Yeah. So, it took about 2.5 years or something, because I started producing some of those tracks while I was putting out Neat Tape 1 and just developed them over the last couple of years. I think the bulk of the work was definitely done in the past year for sure, because that's when I like got really serious about wanting to finish this project. And yeah, there's definitely a concept behind it. It was supposed to be kind of a reflection of honestly like my time in LA, and also like trying to find stillness in this noise. And it's these moments of like, sometimes really celebrating the noise and really sinking into them, and like feeling kind of like, I feel like there's a difference between being in control of your rage rather than letting your rage control you. So there's like some moments of that. Sure. But then also there's moments of like acceptance and letting things kind of chill out, and then celebrating that as well, because it's like, I don't know, we are all multifaceted people. And I think that's one of the problems of, music, when you try to like box, and not just music, but in general, when you try to box people into a genre or into a certain mood, and it's like, well, this person isn't chill all the time because they're human,
Yeah.
And I get pegged to, as being a lo-fi producer a lot, and I know that I often produce like down-tempo music, but I think this beat tape, I wanted to kind of like expand that just a little bit and be like, no, there's some territory that I want to get into here, so that when I do it again, you're not like, where did this come from?
Right? Yeah. No, I would say that you definitely have a consistent sound to this album and the previous stuff you've released.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's really hard, I think, for a lot of producers, just to be able to have that consistency of sound and being able to narrow that down and like really own it. But you do have a good variety, I would say, within that sound of like, you've got some hype, and then you've got some stuff that's a little more chill and kind of laid back. And I think that's what a good producer does, is you create a set, you create a mood. Because if you're just like bangers 24/7 all day long, people do have chill moments, and then they have more hype moments in their life. And that makes for a great set playing live too.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I think a lot of it kind of comes from my background in classical music, honestly, because classical music is potentially the most dynamic style of music in existence.
Yes, this is true. Facts.
Yeah. And I think that's stayed with me in some way or another of just like, yeah, that is always part of the memo is like, you know, what kind of journey are we going on? And I specifically crafted this beat tape to have, you know, a contour to it, like to have a storyline to it. Like there's a reason why the tracks are in the order that they are, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, no, and it works. It came through and it's a great album. We'll have a link in the show notes for anybody that wants to check it out. And yeah, I encourage everybody listening to do that for sure. Otherwise, you're missing out. But yeah, so when you start a song, like when you first start producing a track, do you have like a typical workflow? Do you normally start with strings or your Moog or a beat? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so it changes a lot, and I try to make sure that I don't fall into the same workflow every time. I definitely have habits, like oftentimes I'll start with drums because I think drums for me is the frontier of music that I struggle with the most. Or maybe I should rephrase that to say that it's the frontier of music that I'm learning the most from.
Okay.
And and so that's like how I practice. And I tell this to my students a lot of just like, you know, one of the most important things that you can do as a producer is to, first of all, create every day if you can, but also to set assignments for yourself every day. So whether that assignment is being like, okay, I heard this sick drum feel on this, you know, D'Angelo record and I want to re-emulate that in some way or another, or if it's like, oh, like for right now I'm trying to work on like my diminished voicings and augmented voicings and trying to incorporate that into more of my productions, but it could also be about sound design. So I try not to make it too predictable, but yeah, I mean, if there were like a typical day where it's like, okay, Jess, you gotta like make something up on the fly, then it would be like, okay, start with drums, then grab my, I have like a Rhodes patch that I have ready to go because I find that it's just the easiest way to just get chords out. And then I would put a bass line to it, format it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think strings, you'd think that as a string player, I would put strings first or close to first, but honestly, strings are one of the last things that I do.
Yeah.
With any track.
And you layer them a lot with like your synths and other things. I noticed that you do a lot of harmonies and like really cool melodies and just layering that sound design together. I feel like sound design is so ambiguous. It's so subjective that a lot of producers starting out and my students like really get lost in the sauce of being able to do that kind of stuff well. And a lot of that is ear training. And I'd say you're a great example of somebody who does a really good job with layering those sounds together for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, you're totally right. It like sound design is a completely ambiguous term. And one thing that I talk about a lot is how I think about sounds in textures, like what textures, if I could say that word, really work well together. Like what are the textures that are going to be like popping through a mix, what's going to blend well, what's going to support the bottom, what's going to fill out the mid-range, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like one of my favorite sayings is like, don't clog the toilet of sound, because it's so easy to do. It's like I'm missing something in this track, so let me just shove more stuff into it. It's like, no, dude, you're literally just going to cause so many problems for yourself.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
I should put that on a plaque and give that to my students.
Really should. You really should.
Thank you. I came up with that all by myself. So if somebody else probably said it first, but it just came to me one day.
You know what would be awesome is if you get like a tiny like little gold trophy in the shape of a toilet so that you can put it on top of your studio monitors.
Yes, the golden seat or something like that. Like the golden throne. That's a good idea. Yeah. Give like a trophy to my best sound design students.
Yeah. That's brilliant. So funny.
Such a brilliant idea. I'm going to make a golden toilet trophy and send it to you someday.
Please do. That'd be awesome.
You have to include it in a video, though, if you do it in the future. If
no
go
problem.
Through all that work. Okay, good.
No problem. I would love to see all the YouTube comments about that being like, what is that about?
You can just make up some stories about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I won this at a contest.
Yeah.
Don't explain what the contest was.
Yeah, just leave it open-ended. ... Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, so here's another question that I hear a lot from students, and I'd be curious to hear what you have to say on it. But how do you stay inspired as an artist, like for you personally?
Yeah. So the trick is to, when you're feeling inspired, to channel it, but also to get to a place where it doesn't matter whether you're inspired or not. Like I put out this video a little bit ago about practice tips for producers, because I think that people look at instruments and the way that you practice an instrument completely differently than how you would look at production. And, as a classical violinist, it's like, I had to practice whether or not I was feeling it. Like, I had to practice when I was miserable. I had to practice when I was feeling like really sad. I had to practice when, like it doesn't matter. You get into the workflow and you just do it.
Totally.
And I wouldn't recommend that kind of hard ass style. I think there's definitely like a threshold.
Yeah.
But I think the overall memo is, you don't have to feel like all of your ideas are great in order to just do something, because, as long as you're making something every day, you're making progress. And even if your beat is complete ass, is like, if you discovered at least one setting on a plugin, that's a good day. It kind of ties into this whole idea that I've been working with for a while, which is just the no 0 days concept of just, as long as you're working on one thing every day, could be as small as answering an email, could be as big as finishing up a track or releasing a record. As long as you're doing one thing every day, that's a good day, and you can feel good about that.
Yeah, that's good. That's true. I think it's easy to like get lost in that sauce of like not really knowing how to plan. Like, there's a marketing for independent artists company called Entrepreneur. A guy named Circa, he was on the podcast not that long ago, but he was talking about plans are worthless, but planning is essential.
I like that.
Yeah, I love that quote too. And I think that kind of goes along with what you're saying in some weird way of like making plans where like every week I'm going to reach this goal. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to make sure that I'm like constantly moving forward. And
absolutely.
That's kind of what I was hearing you say.
Yeah. I mean, it also really helps. It really helps to write things down, which I think also falls into what you're saying about planning. The process and practice of planning, because it can be really hard sometimes. But honestly, the clearer of a vision that you have for yourself and for your music and for your goals, the more attainable they become. And one really interesting exercise that I like is when you plan very, very far in advance. Like, what does my career look like in 5 years or even 10 years? What does my life look like in 10 years? And then reverse engineering from there. So like, even it's kind of like a nice exercise in like dreaming, but also planning of being like, what does that look like? Okay, let's say that in 10 years, like, I catch a major sync on a Grammy winning record. How did that happen? Well, it happened because I worked with this artist. And how did that happen? It's because I worked with this artist and worked with this publishing company, and I got that publishing company's attention by putting out this record. It's just like
totally
those little things. It's just of kind of like looking at the end goal and then working your way backwards to where you are now. And sometimes just conceptualizing what those steps look like can be a real game changer.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. Because it can be overwhelming when you think about like, I want to do this and then not knowing how to get there, but just reverse engineering it, start to break down that step by step. Yeah, that's good. So are you doing any live streams coming up in the future? I know that like we're locked to our homes right now, and you have done some like live performances and traveling and touring and all that good stuff. What does that look like for the foreseeable future? Are you still wanting to play out live in the future? Are you planning for that?
Yeah, I miss playing live so dearly. I mean, it's kind of funny because this year I was really hoping to actually kind of pump the brakes a little bit on social media and getting out of my phone and computer a little bit more and focusing on like live performances and touring. And I was supposed to play a couple festivals that got canceled, and then we had just started to put together a route for a summer tour, and then that got totally wiped out. That has been a huge bummer. And in this really strange way, it's like I'm finding myself doing the polar opposite of what I was originally planning on doing. However, I've been finding ways to make it really, really enjoyable in the live streaming way of like, I started a Twitch account. So now I'm doing live streams like 3 times a week where I'm just either making beats or collaborating with my my housemate who's also like an amazing artist in his own right.
Awesome.
And then doing like feedback days. So that's been great. But then, yeah, I also have been doing little live stream performances for like some groups that I really like working with, like Moog.
Yes, I saw that Subharmonicon new thing that they released. Yeah. That thing was dope.
Yeah.
That was
It's super fun. It's super fun. So I got to do like a live modular ambient set with the Subharmonicon and my violin. And I've never really done anything like that. So that was
cool.
super fun.
Yeah.
And then I did one for Maris, and right now in terms of like doing live performances of like my own sets, it's a little tricky because when you put up your live set, like when you tour, you have a live set that you play night after night after night after night with their own little variations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you do a live set, really you're kind of just doing one and then it's there.
Right.
And so that can be a little bit tricky to navigate. And so that's why I'm just shifting my focus, like with the live stream stuff. I'm shifting my focus to things that are happening in the moment rather than this kind of like pre-recorded, like, here's my set, here's my one set that, because when this is over, I really hope that I get to play live. And obviously that'll be different looking than from my living room. But
for sure,
just in the meantime, I think for me, like, I just really like the idea of creating something in the moment with people who are actively engaged, and that kind of idea of impermanence rather than just like that same performance being taken, copied and pasted.
Right. Yeah, no, that's true. That's exactly right. I think it's forced a lot of artists to have to adapt really quickly to the times. And
for sure,
it's a make or break for a lot of people. For people who don't even know how to live stream or maybe don't have the gear to actually do it. And like, you said that you're kind of about to disconnect from social media, and then this happened. So I was like, just kidding. Mm-hmm. It's actually quite the opposite.
Totally.
But yeah, I've seen your videos and I'll have to watch some more of the live streams. Are you still doing that 3 times a week now?
Yeah, so I'm trying to find a consistent schedule, but it's usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay. Yeah, we'll include a link to your Twitch in the episode as well for people to check that out for sure. What does your live performance look like?
Well, my quarantine live performance would look pretty different from my live performance on stage because I had an auxiliary keys and synth player with me on stage, as well as oh my god, we had this super sick setup. I was gonna have a string trio and an auxiliary key player, and we had done that configuration once before, and it was so good that I was so stoked on it. Like, it was like an impromptu thing too, and 2 of my friends who are both like viola players, which you'd think are like harder to come by than violinists. Oh, sorry. They last minute I was like, hey, do you guys want to like hop up with me and Jake for this show and like play some strings? And we all did this like impromptu string trio thing.
It's awesome.
With Jake on keys and then the tracks playing through the 404. Anyway, that'll happen eventually.
That sounds
It will
cool.
happen eventually. But when I do solo performances, it's just me playing and kind of DJing tracks from my sampler, the 404, and then either playing violin or singing on top of it.
Okay. Yeah. The 404 is gold. I love that thing. You can do so much with it. But yeah, so what would you say is like your favorite live show you've ever played? If you had to pick one.
My favorite live show that I've ever played?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know, it's a hard question.
Yeah, that's really tough. I mean, that show that I was just talking about where I had my friends Drew and Jeremy hop in on the strings. Even though that was a super small, that was at the Hotel Cafe, so it was an incredibly intimate show in Los Angeles.
That's like a 150 cap venue or something like that.
It's super, super small. So it was very, very small, but just musically, that was like one of my favorite ones. But I think a couple of my favorite shows, oh man, that's the thing. I'm going to get like teary eyed thinking about this, but like LA has LA has the best beat scene in the world.
Yeah,
I will die on that hill.
That's fine. I'm there with you. I agree.
Yeah.
Totally. I have a lot of friends in LA that would say the same.
It's unreal, and being able to play those like underground shows, like, you know, like Beat Cinema, and then with my friends at Soulful by Nature, like some of those like really underground, just packed out, super sweaty shows where you get to like test out new material for the first time and see how people respond. That like fills my heart kind of like nothing else.
Oh,
it's
100%.
So
Yeah. No, it's true. Like some of my favorite shows are some of the smallest shows I've played, just because people are like right up there in your face, and you just pray everybody wears deodorant, but everybody's super into it and just smushed together, and you just feel that energy.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
Really, yeah. So what are some new projects that you have that you're going to be releasing in the future? Like what's the next thing that you're working on?
Yeah, so I got a couple ideas in the works. You know, I just released Neat Tape 2, like, let's see, it's still May. So it was last month. So, you know, it's funny because we're bypassing the album cycle almost entirely. Like at this point, if things were still normal, like I would not be, like, yeah, I would still be making music for my own sake, but, you know, the next year or so would have been spent promoting that and like playing shows and touring and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting because I'm in this interesting space of like trying to kind of boot up the creative muscle, you know? It's like there was maybe like a little bit of a break, but it's like, okay, I guess start thinking about the next thing. So I have a couple ideas in the works, which is first of all, I have been working with some amazing artists, like singers, rappers, and stuff. And so starting to make songs that have vocals on them for the first time. So that's kind of new territory.
That's cool.
But then the other two projects that I have that I kind of started working on, one is called Bathtub Bumps. So I'm working on this like little EP.
I love that. Bathtub Bumps. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a little EP of just like songs to take a bath to, like really easygoing.
Oh my gosh, you should sample some rubber duckies and like some bath toys. You know the little one? Like God. I used to have this really badass bath toy that you'd like pull the string as a fish and you'd be like chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh my gosh, I had the same. I know exactly what you're talking about.
The best toy in the world, like hands down.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. But yeah, so they're supposed to be just like all really easygoing and stuff like that. And then I have another thing that it's been kind of a long time in the works. It's been because it's not I haven't really had the time to put super like an insane amount of energy into it, and it's a really big undertaking. But I have this other project called Friend Bumps in the works, which is it's another beat tape, but every single track on the tape is a collaboration with a producer friend of mine, and so I have people from like all over the country, like some pretty heavy in my personal opinion, some pretty heavy hitters.
That's awesome. That's
that
cool.
Are like down with it. Yeah. So that's it's tight. Just so I'll have to figure that out. But it's an interesting time to be asking people to collaborate because with everything going on, the assumption is that everybody has free time, but the reality is that a lot of people are still working. And the other reality is a lot of people are kind of not really feeling up to it. Like they're not feeling their creative best because, a lot of people are just like feeling wildly understimulated right now.
It's true.
Seeing the same 100, setting day in, day out.
No, that's fair. I find that most people in my circles are either like super crazy busy more now than ever, even after this hit, or they're just like really kind of running in circles. And they're not really sure like where to go. That's yeah.
Totally.
I'm on that scale of like my life got hella busier, which I'm thankful for, like for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like you're definitely staying busy too.
Yes.
All right. Hey everybody, just wanted to do a quick pause and remind you about Auralex's offer with 15% off of their website. If you don't have your studio already acoustically treated, whether you're at home or wherever you're producing and mixing, highly recommend getting the right proper treatment. Auralex's studio foam is awesome. I have a bunch of it hanging up in my room right now at my home studio. It's a game changer for me in my mixes with mastering and just overall just getting the best sound out of my speakers. Just go to auralex.com, that's AURALEX, and use the discount code Ableton with all capital letters to save 15% off of your order. Big thanks to Auralex for supporting this podcast, and now back to the episode. So I want to respect your time, but I do want to nerd out a little bit with you before we go. And I sent you these questions in advance. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them, but if you had to say like your top favorite Ableton Live devices or instruments, what would you say?
So Ableton Live devices, I don't really... I don't use Ableton stock stuff as much as one might think.
No.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. That makes me sad.
Well, I mean, I do and I don't. Okay, so here's one that I really love working with. I'll satisfy your answer. This will make you happy.
Okay, thanks.
So I like using percussive loops and shortening the transients of them just through the beats thing, and then I'll throw it through
like warp mode, like the beat mode, like pull back the transient.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You short it in that way, and then or de-emphasize, I should say. But then throwing that through Corpus, picking a tone, and then using the Max for Live LFO to automate out a resonator so that these chords kind of blossom open.
Okay. Yeah. That's a brilliant hack. I don't use the Corpus enough, so I'm really excited to hear that, honestly.
I got that. I learned that from my friend Chuck Sutton, who is unbelievable. I mean, if you want to nerd out about like the crazy shit you can do on just Ableton, he is the master. I'm pretty sure he is the most advanced Ableton user I have ever witnessed in my life.
I need to hit this Chuck guy up. Get him on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
We could just nerd for hours.
Oh, he's sick. He's so sick.
Okay, so Corpus, Ableton, warp modes, those are all good things. What about third-party plugins?
Yeah, I abuse the RC20.
I know.
A lot.
Actually, I have you to thank for that, to be honest, because I was like, I don't know, it was like a year ago or so, I saw you feature the RC20, and I was like, man, I'm seeing everybody talk about this. And after I saw your video, it was like the heavens opened, and it was like confirmation that I need to actually just do it. So I downloaded it, and life has been better ever since. So thank you.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 5 plugins in one. I mean, it's crazy the value that you get out of that. But yeah, I use that one a lot. I think that's probably my favorite creative plugin. And then I could also just go over like VSTs, like, the Arteria analog suite is like the analog lab. So I abuse those. I really abuse those.
That's what they're for.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, you can't go wrong with the Sound Toys suite. Like Echo Boy has always been my favorite.
Love
but
me some
actually,
Sound Toys.
Yesterday I did a whole stream on the new Valhalla Supermassive.
Yes, and it's free.
It's free.
And it's awesome.
Sick.
It's so good.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Love it.
Yeah. I do love it. No, it's cool. And it's like not only, it's kind of like the, what was it? The frequency one that they released. Was it a Freak Mod or something like that?
Oh,
it's It's like Valhalla Vintage Verb had a baby with the frequency mod plugin.
Yeah.
Like they came together.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing's pretty dope.
So good.
Valhalla for the win. And their plugins are like priced, I feel like, appropriately. I mean, that one's free, but they're not crazy expensive.
Honestly,
like $50.
I feel like they're right. Yeah. I almost feel like they're a little bit cheaper than they should be.
Right.
I don't want to say that because I don't want them to raise the price, but I have some plugins that it's like, it costs like $150 for one plugin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yeah, I love this, but like I used Valhalla Vintage Verb on everything. That's like my reverb of choice,
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
The gazpacho of reverbs.
It really is. Yeah. And Echo Boy is fantastic. Sound Toys, Pan Man, Decapitator on everything. Just like instant.
Yeah, the decap is awesome.
It's like the dirtiest, cleanest plugin I know of. It's great. I love it.
Oh, it's true.
If that makes sense. But then the Serum, I know you use Serum. Serum's another one.
I do, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been trolling your YouTube tutorials today. And then also Pro Q2. Have you played with the third one?
I have not. People keep yelling at me about it.
Yeah, I haven't downloaded it either, but apparently it's a dynamic EQ, which is nice. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, I like using the Izotope plugins for that. Oh, speaking of Izotope, Neutron is sick. Neutron is really, really cool. I didn't think I was gonna like it because I was like, this is cheating. But the whole like Izotope's dynamic EQs and like multi-band compressors are so good.
So good. I'm a huge fan. I'm doing a webinar for them tomorrow on their plugins, and like they have the mix master bundle right now, which you get Neutron and Ozone Elements and Trash 2 and some other ones. It's $49 until June 4th.
Really?
That suite is normally $895, and they're giving it away for $49. So tell your students if you can.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Steal, straight up steal.
Yeah, Izotope's awesome.
I also see that you're rocking the like old school Launchpad. I saw that in one of your videos, like the really old OG Launchpad.
I have sold that since that video. That RIP. No, but Novation's great. I do have an Ableton push now.
Yes.
Which is I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the Launchpad, if I had been doing live performances with my laptop, then I would probably almost prefer the Launchpad, just because it's the interface is so like it is what you get. Like you can't really mess it up too bad.
Yeah, I don't know, I have fat fingers, so I feel like the push is more appropriate for me. But do you make most of your beats on the push now? Is that kind of like your main beat pad?
Kind of sometimes, but to be honest with you, I actually use my keyboard more.
Really? That's surprising.
Because for a really long time, I didn't have velocity sensitive drum pads. Because even on the 404, it's not really velocity sensitive. So, I just got used to doing it from my Prophet, and
nice.
Just got used to the feel, so that's kind of my go-to. But I've been trying to incorporate the push more.
That's a perfect example that there's like 6 billion ways you can make beats today, and like there isn't one size fits all for everybody.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Right on. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with people, listeners, where they can best connect with you, or maybe stay tuned into your future happenings? Like where should they go?
Well, I am most active on my Instagram, so it's instagram.com/lilbadsnacks. I don't know why I said .com. Nobody uses Instagram as a website. I feel like I'm aging myself.
I only use the desktop app.
Sorry.
In MySpace? You're on MySpace, right?
Yeah, I'm on MySpace too. No,
okay, good. No, just kidding.
So it's at Lil Bad Snacks on Instagram. That's where I update the most. But yeah, I think, aside from that, Need Tape 2 is everywhere. You can listen to it on Spotify, or you can go to Bandcamp. And then, Twitch is also, I think, my other most active channel right now. Still uploading YouTube videos, but for Twitch, it's just kind of like an interactive hangout, really. So I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Well, I love your videos. I love your music, and I appreciate you hanging out with us today for sure. Bad Snacks, everybody. I'll include links in the show notes as always. So go down there and click those links, and you can stay connected with Bad Snacks. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out on the podcast. It was fun, and we should do it again sometime. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah, for sure. Enjoy Portland and the quarantining and that awesome studio that you have right now.
Will do. Already am.
Cool. Right on. Well, have a good day. I'll see you later.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for listening to another episode. I wanted to give a quick shout out. Right now, I am giving 50% off your first month membership on liveproducersonline.com. So if you want to go deeper with your skills producing in Ableton Live, you can access all of my Ableton Live courses from studio to stage, teaching you lots of different tips and tricks in the private member Facebook group. There's a lot of content there, a lot of value, and I really believe I'm way undercharging because I just want to give back, and I'm excited to teach and help other people and other producers get the results that they're wanting. So it's a really fun community Facebook group. We've been doing track feedback live. You can submit songs you're working on and privately in the group. It's a good way for all of us just to share and give each other advice on music that we're working on. It's been a lot of fun doing that recently. So liveproducersonline.com, use the discount code podcast for half off your pro or basic membership plan, whichever you choose. So it's half off your first month just to test it out. I'd love to see you on the other side. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.